In the Duke's chamber, clothes lay scattered across the floor. As he slept, Jasmine opened her eyes, catching a glimpse of his peaceful face. A deep blush crept over her cheeks, and she flinched. What have I done? She thought, her mind spinning. For 7 long years, Jasmine Riavani, hailed as the flower of high society, had harbored unrequited love for Richard Ion. As the empire's sword and heir to House Ion, Richard was admired by countless women. Yet despite his icy demeanor and distant attitude, Jasmine remained the only one steadfastly captivated by him. Once, Duke Richard had bluntly declared that marriage was the furthest thing from his mind. The words cut deep, but Jasmine never gave up. She couldn't help but adore the man who had unknowingly claimed her heart. Yet, before she could confess, she was met with rejection, a crushing blow that left her shaken. That night, everything changed. Wine had dulled Jasmine's senses, unshackling her from the restraints she'd carried for so long. Suddenly, she found herself alone with him in his room, her long-suppressed emotions bursting free. "If we take this any further," Richard whispered, his voice quiet but firm, "you might regret it." She knew she could leave. She should have. But instead, she took a trembling step closer. "We can stop right now," he murmured. "Just sleep with me," Jasmine whispered back, her voice raw and vulnerable. "If we do, maybe I can finally give up on you," she thought. Whether it was courage or desperation, she didn't know, but something broke inside her. The next moments were a whirlwind of closeness and warmth, both thrilling and terrifying. But once it was over, reality hit hard. "I must have lost my mind," Jasmine muttered to herself as she hurriedly tried to dress. "How could a noble lady like me do something so reckless?" The weight of her actions threatened to crush her. Just as she was about to leave, Richard's voice stopped her. "Where do you think you're going?" he asked, blocking the door. His tone was softer, almost uncertain. "Jasmine?" he whispered, making her freeze. Turning to face him, she fought back her emotions. Memories of the night before flooded back. Richard at the casino, leaning close and questioning her confession. "You said you liked me. Was that a lie?" he had asked, his eyes piercing. Who told him that? She had denied it quickly, but deep down, Jasmine knew she hadn't just wanted his body. She longed for his love. That night, when Richard moved closer, his jacket slipped from his shoulders, revealing his flushed face. "I want you," he confessed, undoing his buttons slowly, his gaze locked on hers. "Is this enough proof for you?" he asked with a faint, mischievous grin. Jasmine could feel her heart pounding. "But I want his heart too," she thought, unable to suppress the longing that had consumed her for years. The morning light filtered through the curtains, and Jasmine woke up abruptly, startled to find herself in bed with Duke Richard. Her heart pounded as fragmented memories of the previous night flashed through her mind. What happened? She wondered, clutching the silk sheets tightly. She recalled one too many sips of wine, and then his calm, composed voice cutting through the haze. "Do you want to sleep with me?" Richard had asked, his gray eyes unreadable in the dim candlelight. "If we do, I think I'd be able to completely give up on you," she remembered confessing, heat flooding her cheeks. "I must have lost my mind," she whispered, hurriedly slipping into her dress. Reaching the door, she felt overwhelmed by guilt and confusion. Did I really cling to him? Or even pounce on him? She thought, mortified. But then it hit her. Richard hadn't seemed drunk at all. I was the one who lost control, but that cold-hearted man? Before she could leave, Richard's voice halted her. "Where do you think you're going?" he asked, his hand against the door, blocking her way. Jasmine turned, her face tense, meeting his steady gaze. "Jasmine?" he called softly, his tone unexpectedly tender. Back in her own room, Jasmine stared at her reflection in the dressing mirror, her maid Marie beside her. "I meet the Empire's standard of beauty, blonde hair, clear skin, a pretty face," she murmured, lightly touching her cheek. "No, I'm not just pretty, I'm a recognized beauty in high society," she insisted. There she goes again, Marie thought, hiding a smile. "Am I unattractive?" Jasmine asked suddenly, her tone desperate. "That's impossible, my lady," Marie assured her. "Then, is it my personality?" Jasmine asked, looking worried. "Nonsense," Marie protested. "You're the daughter of the esteemed Grand Duke Riovani, admired in high society, and probably the most ideal bride in the country." Despite the reassurance, Jasmine sighed. "What's the point of it all? My unrequited love has lasted 7 years. At 16, Jasmine had fallen for Richard at her debutante ball. Unlike other women who gave up on him due to his frigid attitude, Jasmine remained determined. Even now, despite countless rejections, she couldn't let go. Later that day, while having tea with her friends, Jasmine overheard their gossip about Richard. "The Duke is handsome, but too distant," one lady said. "He's publicly declared he's not interested in marriage," another added. "He's just someone to admire from afar," a third concluded. "But I still like him," Jasmine thought to herself. As Marie helped her dress, Jasmine couldn't help but reflect. "Marie, you know how hard I've worked to win his heart, right?" "Of course, my lady," Marie said warmly. "You've changed so much, studied hard, maintained your beauty, even learned the piano, all for him." Jasmine managed a small smile. "But what made Duke Ion reject someone like me?" Marie hesitated. "Your father even wrote him a letter proposing the marriage." The Duke's reply came quickly. "I have no intentions of getting married yet." Your father was furious. Jasmine couldn't help but laugh softly at the memory. Despite it all, Marie was always on my side. "I'm going to tell him how I feel. One last time," Jasmine declared. "If he rejects me again, I'll move on." "Oh, Lady Jasmine, I'll support you no matter what," Marie said, looking emotional. "Thank you, Marie," Jasmine replied, putting on a brave smile. Later that afternoon, Jasmine spotted Richard in the Knight Commander's residence, talking to a lady named Nysa. Standing by the window, she hesitated, listening in. "So, is that the real reason you refused to marry Lady Jasmine?" Nysa questioned. "Yes," Richard replied coldly. "Don't lie. I know you still have feelings for Lily," Nysa accused, her tone almost mocking. Jasmine froze. "Lily?" Her heart sank. "Does Richard like someone else?" "I know how much you genuinely liked Lily, but you two just weren't meant to be. You need to let go," Nysa said, her tone lighthearted despite the seriousness of her words. Richard clenched his fist. "Shut up," he muttered tersely. Nysa just laughed. "Hey, it's better to forget a love that didn't work out. If you keep this up, you'll only make Lily uncomfortable." "I know, so stop talking," Richard replied coldly, trying to mask the tension on his face. Watching from outside, Jasmine couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. "He must be really close with Princess Nysa," she thought, peeking around the corner. "Why is he always so cold to me? If only he showed that side to me too." Nysa continued to tease him. "You're angry because I'm right, aren't you? Admit it, I'm the only one who dares to tell you the truth." "That's not true," Richard replied with a sigh, running a hand through his hair. "What? You? The heartless Duke Ion has other friends?" Nysa mocked, looking genuinely surprised. Richard hesitated before speaking. "Crown Princess Jillian asked me about my engagement to the Grand Duke's daughter." "She did?" Nysa asked, intrigued. Jasmine's ears perked up from outside. "Yes," Richard continued. "She thought it would be beneficial to establish a connection with House Riovani. I told her I rejected the proposal because I wasn't ready to focus on building a family." The princess raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure it's not just because you don't like her?" Jasmine's heart tightened at the question, feeling a sense of dread. Richard held his head in his hands. "Who am I to judge her? Lady Jasmine is a flawless noblewoman from a prestigious family. I'm sure she'll find a better husband than me." Covering her mouth to stifle a gasp, Jasmine whispered to herself, "So he really has no interest in me. I already knew that, but hearing it still hurts." Nysa huffed. "Well, I think she's kind and pretty. Moving on isn't easy, but sometimes finding someone new is the best way." Richard sighed again, rubbing the back of his neck. "I know that. But," Nysa pressed, "I just can't bring myself to do it," he admitted. "Lady Jasmine is like a flower in a beautiful garden. House Riovani is filled with love, which is rare among aristocrats. She doesn't belong with someone like me." From her hiding spot, Jasmine trembled, feeling a mix of pain and longing. "You're so complicated," Nysa muttered. "Whatever. I'm leaving." "Oh, by the way, did you know that Lily is getting engaged?" Richard's face softened. "Of course, it's good news," he replied, his tone calm but weary. "Do you really mean that?" Nysa asked. "Yes, I do," he replied, staring out the window. Nysa gave him a final glance before leaving. Once alone, Richard held his temple, his face flushed. "Damn it. I'm so tired of unrequited love," he whispered, unaware that Jasmine was still just outside, frozen in place. Days passed, and Jasmine remained locked in her room. One morning, her brother James knocked on her door. "Jasmine, are you planning to stay in there forever? I'll forget what you look like at this rate," he teased. Marie, Jasmine's maid, looked worried. "She's been like this ever since she tried to confess to Duke Ion, hasn't she?" James nodded. "Did he reject her?" "Yes," Marie replied softly. James sighed. "Jasmine, you can't just stay in there forever. Get ready to go out. I'll cheer you up," he called through the door before hurrying off. Marie knocked gently. "Lady Jasmine, please open the door." Jasmine's muffled voice responded, "Leave me alone." "Please, my lady," Marie pleaded. "Your brother has planned something to cheer you up. You should go out, even if just for a little while." After a long pause, the door finally creaked open. Jasmine's eyes were puffy from crying. "Why are you bothering me?" she muttered. Marie gave her a sympathetic smile. "You've been locked up for days, my lady. Fresh air will do you good." Reluctantly, Jasmine let herself be dressed and prepared. When she stepped out, James greeted her with a bright smile. "There you are. Come on, there's someone I want you to meet." He led her to the garden, where a familiar figure awaited. "Well, say hello, Jasmine. This is Duke Richard Ion. He's my junior from the academy," James announced. "And this is my sister, Jasmine." Jasmine's eyes widened as she stared at Richard, who looked equally surprised. "What's going on?" she whispered, unsure whether to feel anxious or hopeful. James patted her shoulder playfully. "Come on. Don't just stand there. Say hello." Richard stood before her, his gaze softening as he took in Jasmine's beauty, a warmth in his voice that seemed uncharacteristic. "It's been too long, Lady Jasmine. You're as beautiful as ever," he said, his eyes lingering before placing a gentle kiss on her hand. Jasmine's cheeks flushed, but she quickly pulled back, hiding her emotions. "So what? You still have no interest in me," she thought, biting her lip. With a forced smile, she replied, "Thank you, Your Grace." Trying to maintain her composure, Jasmine continued, "It's been a while since I last saw you. Since the year-end party, I believe." Richard nodded thoughtfully. "Yes. We danced together then, didn't we?" James, ever the cheerful instigator, chimed in with a grin. "Oh, that's right. You two look like a perfect pair. Everyone thought so." Jasmine shot her brother a sharp look. "What are you trying to do, James?" she wondered, watching him chat cheerfully with Richard. Seated at the table, James and Richard continued their conversation, while Jasmine remained quiet, occasionally sipping her tea. Though her brother smiled brightly, Jasmine couldn't help but feel uneasy. "James probably thinks I haven't given up on Duke Aeon, even though he rejected me," she thought, her gaze dropping to the table. "It's true, though." Jasmine admitted inwardly, "I haven't given up on him all this time, but I can't keep holding on when I know he loves someone else." She glanced at Richard, who seemed oblivious, calmly drinking his tea. "I don't want to keep liking a man who already has another woman in his heart." She bit her lip, fighting the urge to cry. After a while, James stood up. "I'll go grab my aid and the documents you needed, Your Grace." Jasmine's eyes widened in panic. "What?" she whispered, realizing he was leaving. James gave her a thumbs up and winked. "Keep Jasmine company while I'm gone," he said to Richard. Richard nodded. "Of course." Jasmine reached out, her voice barely above a whisper. "Wait. James, where are you going?" James just smiled. "Chin up, Jasmine. You'll be fine." Before she could protest, he was already out the door. "No, James. I don't like him anymore. Can't you see that? Don't leave me here with him." She thought desperately, but it was too late. Now alone, the room grew tense and quiet. Jasmine avoided eye contact, racking her brain for something to say. "What do I do? What should I say?" she thought, anxiety twisting her stomach. Breaking the silence, Richard finally spoke. "Lady Jasmine, there's something I'd like to tell you." She looked up startled. Go ahead." Richard seemed uncharacteristically hesitant, his posture stiff. "I'm not good at sugarcoating things," he began, "but I feel I owe you honesty." His fingers trembled as he clasped them together. "I know I can be cold, and that I have many flaws, but I should tell you this for your sake." Jasmine's heart pounded. "I know what he's going to say." "No, stop. I don't want to hear it." She forced a smile, trying to mask her unease. Richard took a deep breath. "It's about the marriage proposal our families discussed." Jasmine's heart sank. "Please," she whispered, not wanting to continue this conversation. "I already gave my answer in a letter," Richard said calmly. but I thought it would be more respectful to tell you directly. Respectful? Jasmine thought bitterly. I don't need your pity. Her mind flashed back to a tea party where a lady had once remarked, Duke Ion may be a gentleman, but don't you find him frustrating? He's too stiff and his words can be hurtful. Defensively, Jasmine had snapped. There's nothing wrong with Duke Ion. He's just polite, that unlike those arrogant men who lack manners. The lady had given a tight smile. Maybe so, but you know he's hurt many women with his coldness. Jasmine looked at Richard, memories stinging her heart. You know, Your Grace, she began, voice shaking slightly, you should have just ignored me like always. There was no need to reject me twice. Richard's expression tightened. Lady Jasmine? She interrupted, her tone sharper than intended. I understand. I promise not to bother you anymore. I didn't know you hated me that much. That's not. He tried to interject, but Jasmine pressed on, forcing herself to sound calm. My apologies, Your Grace. I must have been terribly rude to you, sending that proposal when I didn't know my place. You must have been very offended. Am I right? She smiled faintly, trying to keep her dignity. Richard remained silent, his expression unreadable. Jasmine continued, her voice wavering. I know you must think I have no pride. Sitting here drinking tea after being rejected. I'm sorry. Richard opened his mouth to speak, but Jasmine rose from her seat before he could say anything. That's enough, she said firmly. I won't trouble you again. She turned to leave, blinking back the tears threatening to fall. Please excuse me. As she walked away, a single tear slipped down her cheek. Behind her, Richard stood up as if to follow, but stopped, his face full of regret. Jasmine used to be a joyful and carefree girl. Her days were filled with delicious snacks and romantic novels, and her biggest dilemma was deciding which treat to have next. Growing up in a warm, loving family, life was simple and sweet, but everything changed when she met Richard Ion. The once simple and carefree life she cherished had become a tangled, complicated mess. As tears slipped down her cheeks, Jasmine couldn't help but think bitterly, maybe it would have been better if Richard just didn't like women at all. That evening, Jasmine sat alone in her room, her heart heavy. Quietly, almost as if afraid to say it aloud, she whispered to herself, I don't want to love you anymore either, you know. Tears continued to fall, staining her cheeks. James, seated nearby, watched her with concern. He sipped his tea slowly, unsure of how to comfort his sister. Jasmine, do you need something? He asked gently. No, Jasmine replied, letting out a heavy sigh, her thoughts still consumed by Richard. James hesitated, glancing at her solemn expression. Damn it, Richard Ion, he thought, frustration boiling inside him. That fool doesn't know what he's lost. He's smart, handsome, and skilled with a sword, almost as good as me, the captain of the Blue Knights, James thought, clenching his fists. A man needs to be at least that competent to be worthy of Jasmine, but I was wrong about him. He slammed his fist against the table. What poor taste he has in women! Why on earth would he reject you? He fumed. Jasmine remained quiet, hugging her teddy bear tightly. Sensing her distress, James softened his tone. I mean, you're a bit of a mess right now, but... Jasmine shot him a glare. What? James quickly backpedaled, panic flickering in his eyes. And no, that's not what I meant. Your personality is amazing. You're kind, cute, thoughtful. Jasmine cut him off coldly. You can stop talking now. Are you making fun of me? James froze, unsure how to respond. I didn't mean it like that, he mumbled, scratching his head awkwardly. Over the years, Jasmine had worked hard to become more refined for Duke Ion's sake. Her once fiery nature had mellowed into grace. Yet, a flicker of her old self surfaced. James, Jasmine spoke up, her voice unexpectedly firm. Yes, he replied, wary of her sudden resolve. You were right, Jasmine stated, her tone unwavering. About what? James asked, confused. Richard Ion is a bastard, she declared, her eyes hard with anger. James blinked, surprised. Jasmine? I want to meet other men, she said firmly. A new chapter. That evening, the siblings attended a masquerade ball. Jasmine, arm in arm with James, looked around the grand hall, feeling both anxious and determined. Are you really going to meet someone else? James asked, still unsure about her sudden decision. Yes, Jasmine replied with confidence. People stay anonymous at masquerade balls, so I can meet someone without feeling pressured. I see, James muttered, sensing her unease despite her resolve. She's trying to move on, he thought. Amidst the swirling dancers, Jasmine heard a familiar voice. Oh my goodness! Is that you, Jasmine? Turning around, she saw Nikki, a friend she hadn't seen in ages. Nikki? Jasmine asked, surprised. Nikki grinned. What are you doing here? Don't tell me you came to see your beloved Duke Ion? Jasmine's face darkened. I don't like him anymore, so don't mention him, she replied, irritation clear in her voice. James intervened, placing a hand on Jasmine's shoulder. Please be careful not to upset her, he said pointedly. Oh my, Sir Karas, you're here too? Nikki asked, noticing him for the first time. Yes. Good to see you again, Lady Nikki, James replied, a bit awkwardly. Nikki's eyes widened. Oh wow, you remember me? James nodded, smiling politely. Of course, you're my sister's friend, and it's hard to forget someone as charming as you. A slight blush crept over Nikki's cheeks. How sweet of you to say that. With a teasing smirk, Nikki leaned closer to Jasmine. You know, Jasmine, if you really want to meet someone new, you shouldn't have brought your big brother along. That's a bit odd, don't you think? Before Jasmine could reply, Nikki grabbed James's arm. Come on, Sir Karas. Let's leave Jasmine to her own devices for a bit. Well, if you insist, James replied, a bit flustered as Nikki dragged him away. Nikki shot a playful wink back at Jasmine. Have fun tonight! Left alone, Jasmine couldn't help but feel conflicted. Did Nikki really take James away for my sake? Or just to flirt? She wondered, half amused. From across the room, a man watched her intently, his face obscured by his mask as he sipped his wine. Jasmine caught his gaze briefly before looking away, her heart pounding. I'll take her advice, she thought resolutely. I'll do whatever it takes to forget Richard Ion. A night of emotions. The ballroom was alive with laughter and cheerful conversation, a stark contrast to the cold emptiness Jasmine felt inside. She sat alone in a dimly lit corner, swirling the wine in her glass as the vibrant energy around her faded into a dull hum. Her fingers tightened around the glass. Ha! I feel better now, she thought, taking another sip. It's nice to drink without anyone nagging me. From the corner of her eye, Jasmine noticed James looking tense as Nikki clung to his arm. He whispered in her direction, his voice filled with caution. Don't drink too much, Jasmine, she scoffed inwardly. What's wrong with him anyway? I'm an adult. Why is he always overreacting? Jasmine climbed the stairs to the terrace, glancing down at the lively crowd below. It's not like I'm the only one drinking here. This place is filled with people just trying to have a good time, she justified to herself. Yet, no matter how much she reasoned, the heavy feeling in her chest remained. But how do I feel right now? Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Out on the terrace, the cool night air brushed against her flushed cheeks. Jasmine leaned against the railing, releasing a shaky hiccup. Her thoughts grew muddled, and her vision blurred slightly. Did I drink too much? A male voice cut through her hazy thoughts. Are you all right, my lady? Jasmine blinked, startled, as a stranger approached. Who are you? She asked, her tone cautious and defensive. The man smiled with a hint of arrogance. Just someone drawn to a beautiful butterfly like you. She frowned, clearly unimpressed. I'm not interested, so please leave. Undeterred, the man took a step closer. You seem quite drunk. Let me take you home. I said no, thank you. I can manage on my own? Jasmine insisted, attempting to move. But as she took a step, her knees wobbled, and she accidentally knocked her glass off the railing. The sound of shattering glass echoed, the spilled wine staining her dress. Seriously, ever since that day, nothing has been going right, Jasmine thought bitterly. The man tried to reach out to her. Let me help you. Jasmine smacked his hand away. I told you I don't need your help, she snapped. Just leave me alone. His eyes narrowed and his smirk turned predatory. You're here to have fun, aren't you? Don't play so hard to get. It's not that attractive, he said, grabbing for her hand. Before he could touch her, another hand intercepted, gripping his wrist firmly. That's enough. A cold, familiar voice cut in. Jasmine looked up, eyes widening. Richard? She murmured, her heart pounding. Richard's icy gaze bore into the stranger. The lady has plans with me. Do you have anything else to say? The man hesitated before mumbling an apology and slinking away. A painful confrontation. As the stranger disappeared, Richard turned to Jasmine. Are you all right? He asked, his voice softening. I'm fine, so stop following me. Jasmine snapped, irritation lacing her words. I can't do that. Richard replied calmly. You seem unsteady. I'll escort you to your carriage. She halted abruptly, glaring at him. You must have a lot of free time, Your Grace, to be so concerned about someone you don't care about, she said coldly. Richard flinched slightly at her biting tone. Lady Jasmine. She let out a bitter laugh. Why are you doing this? You despise me, don't you? Yet here you are, pretending to care. Richard's expression hardened. That's not true. You're misunderstanding. No, Jasmine interrupted, stepping closer. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. Do you have any idea how humiliated I felt? She whispered, voice trembling. To think that I meant something to you, only to find out I was just a nuisance. Her words hit him like a slap, but he remained silent, his guilt apparent. When I'm with you, Jasmine continued, choking back sobs, I feel like the biggest, most pathetic fool in the world. You have no idea how much it hurts, how much I hate myself for still liking you. Richard's eyes widened as her emotions spilled over. You trample on me with your indifference, she whispered. You don't know how much pain you cause, or how much I still love you despite it all. Her hands were trembling now, and a single tear traced down her cheek. There was a long, painful silence. I do know, Richard whispered, his voice barely audible. Jasmine looked up, surprised. I'm sorry, he added, his voice heavy with regret. She shook her head, a hollow smile on her lips. I wish you were just a bad person. If you were, it would be easier to forget you. Suddenly, her balance faltered, and the world seemed to tilt. Lady Jasmine! Richard called, rushing forward as she collapsed. He caught her just before she hit the ground, holding her gently in his arms. Please, wake up, he murmured, panic flickering in his usually stoic eyes. Jasmine's eyes fluttered, her breathing shallow as her head rested against his chest. Richard brushed a strand of hair from her face, his own heart racing. Oh dear, he whispered, cradling her gently, his emotions in turmoil.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the recap, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more manhwa content.